doing wonderful. I'm cooking a bird. I'm having Thanksgiving later today
Oh, okay, awesome.
instead of tomorrow. So I want to just kind of give you the platform, but I just want to give the audience, there's almost 2,000 people in here. I'm just going to just briefly go through some stages of events and where we are today, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So Quinton Simon disappeared. You were watching Quinton Simon on October 4th.
Absolutely.
And, or was it? Yeah, because it was and you took him home that night to his mother's house.
No, Danny come and got him.
So, okay, so Danny came over to the house, got the kids, and took them over with them. And then sometime on the 5th, you learned that he was missing.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I'm sure, can you just briefly tell me, were you like just thinking he was around there? You know, had you just gotten out, or did you know that it didn't feel right and something more was going on?
I thought that he got out because he's gotten out several times. I only known of two, but several times before. So I thought maybe he got out. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you guys went around the neighborhood and didn't find him, then at what point did you go back and ask them if they had called law enforcement?
Around 9 o'clock. I got over there a little before.
Okay, and then we know about the time that they called. From the time that he disappeared to that infamous video where Billy Joe came from her house over to your house in that altercation, how many days after Quinton went missing did that happen?
She come in my house on the 8th.
So 3 days later.
Yep.
And at that point, I would have to think that, I'm just just brainstorming, but I'm thinking at that point, law enforcement had knew something worse had went on. Tell me just explain what the altercation is, because some people may be in here that have not seen that video. Can you just explain what happened?
Yes, and I'm going to go back to that morning, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
She texted me and asked me, did I blame her? And this is all on text, so I'm sure the police have seen this. And I told her, I said, if you would have been home and you would have came home when I told you there was a problem, then I feel like this wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm. What problem were you referring to, if you don't mind me asking? If it's too sensitive, then
it's fine. It's fine. When my best friend was coming over one morning and they were in the ditch. Quinton and Zane was in the ditch.
Alone.
And my best friend calls me and says, Michelle, them two babies are in the ditch down here in front of her house. So my daughter is faster than me, both of them. So they ran out to get them. And Leilani was nowhere around. We knocked on the door. She didn't answer.
Wow. Was she gone, or was she just passed out, or doing God knows what? Was she in the, well, let me ask you this. Was she in the home, or was she away from the home?
She said that she was in the home asleep upstairs. Mm-hmm. I don't know if she was or not. A little over an hour later, she calls and wants the babies home right then.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And so then, so those were the problems that you were referring to, and you had reached out to Billy Joe and told her of this event that happened
numerous of times.
Mm-hmm. And then, so that was the conversation you had that morning. And then, what transpired to her coming over to your house?
I feel like,
from your understanding,
I feel like when she texted me and asked me, did I blame her, and me telling her that I didn't agree with what she done, staying away, I feel like she was angry because I didn't agree with her.
Gotcha. And then how long after that text exchange was it that she came over there, like just hell-bent on?
About 3 hours later.
Do you think she was under the influence at that time? No, maybe I shouldn't ask that. That might be disparaging in nature. Don't answer that. So what was that like? What was she screaming at you? What did she just come in and just pull the door open and just lunge in, or how did this all happen?
Well, we heard my daughter was in the kitchen and we had our screen door open and it sounded like horses was running. It wasn't just Billy Joe. It was more people that came to my house, but she's the only one that entered. And she was
part of that whole, because when we got there was just a lot of like that Ruth character, her family, they just look at like a lot of rough people.
Yes.
So they were probably right behind her when she was doing all this.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So she came in and just started screaming in your face, or
accusing me of stealing her grandson.
Wow. And how did that, because you weren't alone in that home, thank God, but you weren't alone in that home. And you guys did have recordings going because we've seen them. Who all was in the home with you? I know your daughter is one of them, but was there anybody else in that home?
Two of my daughters.
Two of your daughters. And how did this affect them?
Afterwards, they were both very upset. My youngest daughter is very emotional. And she said, Mama, how could she say that we took Quinton?
Right. So all this was transpiring. How did that make you feel security-wise? Like, you called law enforcement after that, right?
I did.
And what did law enforcement tell you?
Told me that it wasn't a crime, that someone can come in your house and as long as they don't touch you or take anything out of your house, it was okay.
That's insane to me. How did that make you feel for your security and safety when you heard law enforcement with a badge on his chest tell you that?
I was stunned. I didn't know what to think. I asked him like 3 times and I said, so I can walk in any of my neighbor's house, just bust in and scream at them and yell at them and it's okay. And his response was yes.
That's insane. And she actually did damage your house.
She damaged my door.
Because I seen the damage with my own 2 eyes. The door's not sitting right. You have to fight with it. It looked like a pretty expensive, nice door too. Not one of those flimsy, just, screen door. I mean, it's a nice glass door.
Yes.
What is now? And you rent too. Is your landlord going to hold you responsible for that door? Have you talked to him about that?
I mean, we're going to replace the door.
Wow. You're going to replace the door yourself.
Yes,
So we're
ma'am.
going to fast forward. Like this has all happened. This happened before we showed up into town. At the time, Quentin was just a missing boy. We got, at least I pulled up into town on the 11th. I went and picked up Jimmy from the airport at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And when we got out there, it was already a pretty busy road when we arrived on the 12th. But on the 12th, that afternoon, is when a press conference came out where the police chief identified Leilani as the prime suspect in the disappearance and death of her child. When you heard that, how did that make you feel? Because you guys have been watching these kids for at least a little moment.
Yes. And my heart dropped. I felt sick. All I could do was cry. I remember I was on the phone with one of my cousins, and she thought that she called to see if I was okay, and I couldn't even talk to her without screaming and crying. And she told me I need to calm down before I had a heart attack because, people say that I was just a babysitter. And I want to clarify one thing. I do work. My daughter, my fix me 18-year-old, watched him a lot until I got home from work. She was very close to him as well. So we was all broken so bad. And even though we just watched him, he's a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I love him like I do my grandkids and my kids.
Yeah. Not only that, but
Oh,
you got to see him pick up stuff, play with stuff, those, because they're curious at that age. Everything's so new. So you get to literally watch him learn stuff right before your eyes. And you have a busy household. I mean, I've been over there and there's a lot of kids. So I can't imagine you love children. It's obvious. You love
children,
kids,
my grandchildren all the time. Yes.
So now, so we heard about that on the 12th. What did you think, when you found out she wasn't getting arrested for the mirror? I mean, we know what all happened out in front there. We're not going to rehash that because I was there. Well, we were there. People were probably thinking we were crazy, which we're not. But what did you think about her not going to jail?
I was very upset, and I was shocked that why wasn't she in jail? Why wouldn't any mother be in jail that hurt their child?
Exactly. So after all of this, now people don't realize you live on, the backside of your house is on their street. Like they're literally 3 doors down from you on the other side of the road. I mean, this is a very close, like you guys are very, very, very close. You were the babysitter. You came out, you were advocating for Quinton, which, anybody that's a suspect or has done anything, you're probably not their best friend. And there's been a very hostile, I don't know if that's the best word, but I'm going to use that word. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hostile relationship since this whole incident has transpired. Why don't you tell me what you and your family have been going through since this moment?
People riding by when my grandkids are out here on the weekends and yelling that we're a baby killer. They're
yelling at you that you're.
Yes.
Were they meaning to turn down that road? Were they meaning to go a little further before they
No,
screamed that?
They was coming up the other way.
Oh my.
They was coming up the other way. I don't know what Billy Joe and them has told people. But they have took pictures of my daughters. These people knew when we was in Walmart. People would come up to me, and I knew that they knew her because they would mention her, and I just walked away. It's embarrassing when people come up and say, well, why are you lying on Billy Joe, and why are you doing this? And then at night, especially at night when we're sleeping, I don't know what they'll do to us.
Right. When we were there, Marissa was, highly upset that we had to leave. She really was. She was crying because we know that this can't be a comfortable situation for you. And I'm surprised that they're saying that to you. And I do know Billy Joe has lied and has manipulated a lot of stuff going through. Let's talk about some of those things. So there was a house key that you purportedly had to their property. That's not true.
That's not true.
And according to some of the text messages I have, even Billy Joe has backtracked on what she says she said.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me about that. I blew up one of the pictures. Now, apparently some of those marks on Quinton were they were shadows.
One of them was the one on his leg.
The one on his leg was the shadow. And now, was that pizza sauce on his face, or was that an earlier bruise?
Spaghetti sauce.
So that was specific. So that one circle. So to clarify, that one circle on his face that I thought was an older bruise was actually some smeared spaghetti sauce.
Yes, ma'am. We was at our church when I took them pictures, and we eat every Wednesday, and he was eating spaghetti.
Gotcha. Must like spaghetti.
Yes.
But the one on his arm was visible.
Mm-hmm.
So that grab mark on his arm, out of all the stuff that I circled, that grab mark on his arm was visible. That really truly was a bruise. That was not photoshopped. It wasn't, unclean spaghetti sauce. It wasn't a shadow. It was a bruise.
Mm-hmm. It was
okay.
a bruise.
Yeah. And then let me see. I'm going to go through here. Do you mind if I just go through here and read these texts?
No, you can read.
So we've got some text messages here. I'm going to go ahead and just bring them up on the panel here. And this is a conversation that you had with Billy Joe. I know there's a lot of people on here that are using a cell phone, so I'm going to read these. Please don't mind. I'm not. Let me put my glasses on. I don't even have my glasses on. Let me put my glasses on. Make sure I can read this. It says. So this is from Billy Joe. She says, "Hey, I'm not sure how to ask this, or if this is going to raise more problems. But do you have the original picture of Quinton that's been doctored up with bruises? That wasn't. You didn't do anything to that photo, did you?
No, ma'am.
So it didn't go to like Photoshop. What you saw is what you got. It's just that some of those markings are explained by the shadowing, the angle of the phone, eating the spaghetti sauce and stuff like that. So those weren't doctored up. It was just, that was the photo.
Right.
Okay. The photo was taken at your house, and just so you know, it makes me and you look horrible. So she's trying to bring you into this, like, this makes us look bad because we didn't tell anybody that this stuff was going on, but you really did.
Yes.
But you told her.
I told her, and a lot of people don't understand, the day that DFACS was involved, the day that they was in the ditch, 3 neighbors, I don't know them, but they said they lived in the area, rode by and said, we have called DFACS so many times. These babies, even before you started keeping them, have been in the road by themselves.
Yeah, we heard that when we were out there too, because they haven't lived in that house. Let me just put this in perspective. They've only been in that house for a year or two, and you've lived in your home for what, 5 years?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
So they're kind of new to the community in all respects. So did they live in that community before? Did you know of them before they moved into that house? Or
her husband lives in this community, and his family are very well. That's how I even met Billy Joe and them, through Tommy's sister. They're very wonderful. They're wonderful people.
Yeah. So so then it says we both look like horrible people. We both know these babies were not abused. Do you agree with that? Because I gotta say, if you want to, I have to say, from the neighbors and from other people that I spoke to, this was a common theme. It wasn't that these kids weren't abused.
Yes, I do agree that they were. Okay, let me say this.
They weren't beaten every day, but
they wasn't beaten. I didn't see bruises until them 2 on Quinton. Never seen none on Zane since I kept them. But I've learned later of all the problems. I didn't know Billy Joe and them. I didn't know what the neighbors had seen or didn't see, because I work every day, so I'm not here. So I didn't see them out on the road, but that one time. So were they neglected? Absolutely, they were neglected. They would come to my house dirty with no diapers. And Leilani didn't care. Danny now, after he had Sky, it seemed like he did a whole turnaround. He would call me and say, okay, Miss Michelle, what do you need for the kids? Do you need diapers? Do you need milk? Because I've had to call him for milk from work for Danny to come bring me milk.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that does make sense. And not only that, but there was a babysitter prior to Quinton and Sky that I personally spoke with that described the exact same thing. Child coming over there dirty, no diapers, no formula, no milk, no nothing. So this is a common theme, because that was with Zane, and that's her oldest. And that was when he was a baby. So that's before all these kids. So I find it ironic that you don't personally know the other babysitter, and you both have almost you guys are almost parroting each other with the condition these kids were coming to the house in.
Yes, ma'am.
It says here, I've heard you over and over try to make people hear, and just like me, when I try to speak, it's twisted really, really bad. But right now, they're the ones twisting a lot of the stuff that you're saying. It's not other people. It's Camp Billy Joe. Is that my understanding?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm praying for our family. I also understand how hard it's going to be in public places. I'm sorry y'all are experiencing that too. But they're the ones causing that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and you've literally done nothing. I mean, you just watched this kid, and when you knew something was wrong, you knew who was responsible for it, and you can't help that. I mean, you're basically the messenger that's getting slaughtered out here, because you knew what happened. Well, you didn't really know what happened, but you knew something bad happened, and you knew who the culprit was, and you were advocating for Quinton as much as you can, because when I went there, I was surprised, because I was there over a week after this incident occurred, and there was not one missing person flyer in that entire community from that household. Can
I say one thing? The day that right before she had come to my house, that night, the night before, I had told her, I said, me and a lot of people want to pray for Quinton, that he is safe and he's returned safe when we thought he was missing. And I said, me and my daughters are going to get flyers made and go put them everywhere. Her response to me was, that is not your family, not your child, and you will not put flyers out.
Wow. So they didn't even want help. Like, this is all happening. You would think a family would be grieving, would be wanting any community support to help locate their missing loved one. And she told you no.
Absolutely.
Was that a red flag to you?
It was. I didn't understand it, because I know I talked to my mom about it. And if that was my mom, her grandchildren, or my child, or my grandchildren, I would beg everyone to help me find my child or my grandchild.
Oh, absolutely. Because I've met parents. I mean, Brandy Neal, we just came back from Fruitland, Idaho before this days. And she didn't even know how to take me, because, I've got a bad rap on the streets of YouTube. But she still met with me, and she still handed me a box of flyers to help.
Yes, absolutely.
She was desperate for any help.
Yes.
She didn't care where it came from. So she's going in here. It seems like she's trying to, and again, get you on her side. It seems very manipulative in nature. I know you're hurting, and I wasn't spreading lies about you. Now the things I said about Leilani, this is from you. But before that, she's like, I'd like you to be here with our family to lay Quinton to rest. But she just made sure that when you were trying to help, that you weren't part of the family, and she wanted nothing to do with you. And you're still being kind to her and saying, I know you're hurting, and I wasn't spreading lies about you. The things I said about Leilani was the truth, and things me or my daughter seen. So you're telling her, look, we've seen these things. You haven't been around to see this stuff. I'm not lying. My daughter's not lying. We're not lying about you or your family. We're telling the truth. And you're right. I know it's hard being a mother and trying to know what to do about the situation. Leilani is your daughter, and you will love her. So you're even talking to her as a parent. And Quinton is your grandson. I know this has to be tearing you apart. I'm praying for you. And yes, I'll send the pictures. Just stop talking about our family. People are making threats. Praying for Quinton. Justice for Quinton. I never lied on you or Leilani. I just told what I saw when you were out of town. And so you're just explaining to her this stuff. And says I agree. Praying was not bad people either, but from Cher, she has made us look bad, and it's all lies. And I gotta acknowledge that, Cher did not make things. I mean, we went down there for a purpose and not for avocation of our personal channels. You have to protect Zane and Sky. I have to protect my girls from evil people, but we are still praying for Quinton and family. And she's writing saying, Cher's been my shoulder. Everyone has hate in their hearts and doesn't know any of the facts, but it'll all come out soon. When it does, people are going to look foolish. I can promise that much. I will never look foolish because I didn't do anything, is what you said.
Yes.
And and the reality is, none of us did anything. The only people that she should be mad at is her daughter and the people that allowed this abuse to happen inside that home.
Yes.
Including herself.
Yes.
And it also says, there is just so much I can't talk about. I'm done with going live. I ended up deep in my feelings. I chat and I listen, but that's it. I don't want this drama in my life of media. It's all fake, even the news. So she's acknowledging that, even the news out there is fake. Now, what she's putting on for Cher might be fake. I don't know, but it's not here. And she continues to go on. This was what we were dealing with. I promise I've never threatened you or your family or anyone. That is untrue, because we watched her come in your home and scream at you and threaten you. What kind of threats are you getting currently, other than people screaming by, telling you you're baby killers? I mean, you guys have been threatened. There was also something going around that they're trying to raise money to move you out of the community.
Yeah, that is sad. See, Billy Joe says in them texts that she has never caused me trouble. Then you go on, I think it was either Queen Bee or Cher, and say that send me a lot of money so I can move. I don't want to move out of my home. I don't want my kids to move. We've been here for 4 years. This is our home, and we have a lot of good neighbors around here, and never had any problems.
Right, until this. Like, they moved in a year and a half ago, and then you have all these problems that have just infiltrated that quiet street that you once knew and loved.
Yes.
Yeah. And she's also, she is, let me ask you this. How does it make you feel that she's trying to raise money to have you move out, but she has done literally nothing to raise a cent for Quinton's funeral or funeral expenses?
Well, it's sad, and it shows the type of person she is. How do you care about your grandchild, but you're still starting drama with my family?
Right.
You're not. It seems like she's not doing anything for her grandson.
I don't think she, in my opinion, that's been my biggest complaint from the very beginning, because there were no flyers. We did have signs come out there that said justice for Quinton, and she violently ripped those out of the ground and then tried to take them and use them as hers. Like, they literally did absolutely zero for this child to help bring him home and help bring him home safely. And then everybody that did try, that fought like hell, like you, I mean, you came under immense scrutiny. You've had your whole entire life torn apart. People have plastered your personal information across YouTube, all because you watched this kid, loved this kid, and wanted the best for this kid, and fought for this kid when he disappeared.
Absolutely.
Do you have a picture of him the same day that way we can prove? So she's actually asking you for stuff that she wants to use as evidence to help her daughter that's what I'm reading here.
Right. And I honestly thought in the first text that she texted me that she was going to tell me something, because she said she was so broken. I thought she was going to tell me, what happened to Quinton, or that she knew, or Leilani told her. So I was trying to be as sensitive as I could, but I am a sensitive person now. I believe that you have to treat people the way you want to be treated. And I have a big heart. So even though I was angry with Billy Joe for coming in here, I still am not the type of person just to be mean to somebody. I just can't do that. And that's because of God. 10 years ago, I gave my life to God, and I've changed my whole life.
Yeah. My awakening and my change in my life was about 10 years ago too. I struggled there for the first few years, but then I got it.
Yeah.
We all come from our walk. That's what makes us unique. It's what gives us our life experience. It really does. We don't know why we're taught those lessons we're taught, or why we have to walk the path we walk, but we learn the reason one day. The light bulb clicks, and it's like, this is why I had to walk down that dark path. But yes, and with everything that's going, and that's what I said, I prefaced with when I came on, is, that this is what it seemed like when I was looking at this conversation. Even though all these bad things have happened to you from this woman, it seems to me that you're just a kind person, and as long as she's speaking to you well, you're going to speak to her well. And at the end of the day, this has always been about Quinton to you. This has
Absolutely.
never been about a personal or petty issue. This has been about Quinton.
Yes, and I'm going to pray for my worst enemy. I'm going to pray for them, because that's what we're supposed to do as human beings. We might definitely not agree with what they're doing, but we have to pray for one another.
Mm-hmm. And I say I pray for my enemies even more so than I pray for my friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this is no different. So it says, no, I'm not in trouble. I'm not going to jail. I'm fighting to just breathe right now. I'm hurt more than anyone and want nothing but justice for Quinton and my family together. Well, she can't have both. I mean,
Right.
Unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. There's nothing that made me believe this would have happened. I beg to differ on that, but I'm sure you have done all the what ifs just like we have. I'm not protecting Leilani like everyone believes. Trust me, I wish I would have been home too. The would have never happened. I don't believe any of us seen this coming. I believe if any of us had, we would have changed things. But that's not necessarily true either, because we did hear from the community saying that they've seen these children, out unattended. We have, I mean, we've seen photos of them with having goose eggs on their head, and this was in all reality a preventable issue. She
Yes.
wasn't listening. It seems to be more than this came out of the blue and nobody knew about it.
Right. I feel like that she didn't. Billy Joe, the 3 times I met her only, one time was in my house when the boys were here and she got here early. She loved the boys. I never seen her abuse the boys. I seen her love them, but your love has to go farther than coming once every 3 months, bringing them a toy, and then leaving them with a mother that you already know is not fit. I didn't know that. I did not know at first that Billy Joe had custody. I didn't learn that until way later. And I wasn't told why she had custody. She just said, when she called me and asked me, this was a thing, can you keep them and I will pay y'all $300 a week, you and your daughter, when they was outside. Then she calls me back and says, I've talked to Leilani, and there's no perfect mother, Michelle. She got angry with me. She said, and you're not a perfect mother either.
Mm-hmm.
She said, so I'm going to let Leilani keep them. The only time you will babysit them is when she is at work.
But that wasn't the case. You were watching them even when she was not at work.
Yes, she would be hiding. We would be leaving to take the kids to eat when I was off, and she would run in. But now they did get them at night. I didn't have them all the time because Leilani told her mom that wasn't going to happen. But Billy Joe did ask me, but then Billy Joe sided with Leilani and said she has to learn responsibility to take care of her kids. So you will have them when she's at work.
And you said, is it common for Billy Joe to be gone for 3 months at a time for her job?
Since I've known her, like I said, I've only met her 3 times. I just knew that she was a welder, but she was gone a lot.
Okay, so now was her and Tom gone a lot, or is she gone and Tom does something else? For whatever reason, when I first heard of it, I thought her and Tom both did the same thing and both left for weeks on end. But I saw him in his truck and it didn't look like maybe he did the same job as her. So I was just a little curious about that, just for my own curiosity.
When I first met them, I think they went out together,
Mm-hmm.
and then something changed where she went to another job, I think, making more money. So she went separate way, and then he went his way to work.
Gotcha. Let me see what else here. And you're just saying, I'm praying. We're not bad people either. You guys are far from being bad people. I was debating if I should text back or not. But here it goes. I'm praying for Quinton every day, all day. We love Quinton, praying to God he's okay. Yes, I have the pictures. That particular picture is shadow on him and the way he was sitting. This was never about anyone but Quinton. The way you have talked about me and my girls is horrible. So you're explaining yourself on here. You're kind of standing up and saying, you did do this, and even though she says that she never did this stuff, you're still addressing the stuff that she did do. The way you have talked about me and my girls is horrible. I would have never do that to anyone, and share is evil. I pray Quinton finds peace soon, and I pray you as sincere as I can. It's always been justice for Quinton. And shadows. And then she says, I don't think, and I don't know what was this paper that she sent you? She said, I don't think they were. He's so perfect. I just want to love him. But she writes here with Leilani every day. Maybe I skipped that. I think I got a couple of the same screenshots in here is what it is.
Well, the paper that you're asking me about is a picture of a paper that she sent me, saying that I wasn't the only one getting threats, that Leilani and her was getting threats. Mm-hmm. And supposedly somebody maybe sent that to her, I'm thinking, mm-hmm. or dropped it off at her house.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you hurt a child, you got to expect that. But that's not the case with you. You've loved and taken care of. I mean, when we were out there, whether you agreed with what we were doing or not, you always made sure if we needed to use a restroom, we could use a restroom. You provided drinks to somebody. You prayed with us when we needed extra prayer. You made us delicious turkey sandwiches, by the way. Those things were good. Like I don't know if I was just hungry or they were really that good, but I can tell you they were really that good.
Well, thank you.
And hot chocolate and stuff, like you're just a kind soul, in my opinion. And you were just trying to help. I mean, you had no idea when this child disappeared that he was, I mean, God, this is so horrible, lying in a landfill.
No, I had no idea. And I couldn't even wrap my head around that even when they said she did it, I just couldn't wrap my hand around, that is your twin. Y'all look so much alike. How could you hurt your baby?
Yeah. One of the things that I found, and you don't have to, make sure I'm not doing, you don't have to respond to it. But one of the things that I found when I came in there, at least from several people, is that she just never really connected to this child. Was that your understanding or not your understanding? And again, if it's too sensitive, don't worry about answering it.
No, it was. Actually, she didn't tell me. She told my daughter that she never bonded with Quinton, that her and Zane had been through everything with her, but her and Quinton never bonded, is what she told my daughter. And my daughter asked me, she said, Mama, she said, you bonded with all 6 of us kids, right? And I said, yeah, why? She says, well, Leilani said today, because I was at work, that she didn't bond with Quinton. She bonded with Zane, but she didn't bond with Quinton.
Yeah, I've never understood that, because I don't have children of my own, but I have grandkids, I have a stepdaughter, and it's like, I love them, and I would never want anything to happen. I didn't have to have them come out of my body to bond with them. They're kids, they're growing, they love life. It's our responsibility to protect them, not even just our kids. If we're around other children and we see them in danger, us as parents, step parents and otherwise, we have the duty to protect that child.
Absolutely.
So said I watched your TikTok and I know you meant no harm, but if there's a name can't say of the media, I will have to change their names for safety. And at Zane's age, that will be another hard thing. So she's not even talking about. She actually says that she's getting these kids back in these things.
Yeah, she said she was getting the kids back.
And so she's already talking about changing the kids' names because
Mm-hmm.
of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? I don't think you could. I don't know if you could answer. I guess you'd be speculating. Do you think the courts in your community would give these kids back to her?
I don't know, but I would hope not. Only
Because I
because
heard both the grandparents for these kids, Zane and Sky, were going to be seeking custody for these children.
well, good, good.
I mean, that's just what I heard back at the very beginning when all this stuff was transpiring, especially when Leilani was named, and everything kind of happened really quickly. Like she was named on the 12th, they removed the kids from the home on the 12th. Like all this stuff on the 12th happened. It was very quickly, and then we started hearing that Danny ran off and he went to his parents. His parents and him were trying to get custody of Sky. I had some paperwork leaked from the Youngkin camp to me with the information about Billy Joe. They cited that Billy Joe was supposed to protect these kids and failed to do so. And as a result, they have opted to remove these children from the home. I mean, it just seems to me that it'd be hard to get a child back after you've put them in harm's way. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't heard anything about that, but I really hope that they don't get them.
Yeah, I really hope they don't get them either. Did you know? I mean, it wasn't until this case and Quinton, went missing. Did you know that her other son was also in jail for murder?
I did not until all this come out. Like I said, I didn't know the family. I just knew her husband's side of the family. I didn't know Billy Joe and them.
Right. What were your thoughts when you found that revelation that Quinton was named after his uncle that is in jail for murder?
It was, I can't tell you the feelings that I've had about this case and about all this. It's just been really heartbreaking and horrible.
Right. So are you going, let me ask you this. Are you going to go to his funeral and stand side by side with Billy Joe and her family?
No, ma'am. I am going to pray for Quinton, continue. I got so many pictures made of him. I told you I'm going to put him up where my grandkids and my kids are. He will never be forgotten. I'm actually going to make him a plate for Thanksgiving of his favorite food. It's not weird. It's because he loved food. And when he was here, he had 3 favorite foods of mine that he loved. And we're going to do a balloon let go very soon for him.
If you let me know, I'm happy to sponsor the balloons and the helium. If you let me know what balloons you want, I'll order them and send them to you.
Okay, yeah, we do want to do that, but I will not go to the funeral. I have to forgive her because I'm a Christian, but I will never stand beside her after she's had people threaten my kids, lie on us, and accuse me of stealing her grandson. I would never go.
Especially when she had to have known early on that her daughter was responsible. We all knew early on that her daughter was responsible. So she either was trying to throw law enforcement off at that point to protect her daughter, or she was just fully in denial. And I just don't, honestly, I believe from her past, she's been doing everything she's doing to help her daughter not face accountability or responsibility for what she did to this child. That's just my personal opinion.
Yes, I agree.
Is there, we're going over, so there's that letter. Oh, so that's the threatening letter. And it says, this is what we're dealing with. I promise I've never threatened you or your family, but that's not true. We've seen her do that. No, I'm told you knew where the outside key was. Oh, this is where she acknowledges that she knew you didn't have a key. Yeah. Even though she went on and said that you had a key to her house. Right. And she said, no, I told them you knew where the outside key is just in case you needed something for the kids. Michelle, YouTubers have made you and me evil people. No, first of all, she's trying to incorporate herself in with you. No, Billy Joe, we think you're evil. We've never really thought Miss Diana, and you go by Michelle as well, is evil. I mean, from the very beginning, I've said you are you could just tell just your demeanor and your mannerism that you are a very sweet, loving person. So she keeps trying to incorporate you in with her, and I don't like that. They take everything out of context. I've had to over and over remind myself they want a show. As long as you or myself go on YouTube, Facebook, or TikTok, we will continue to have problems. But you haven't been going on all of these social media places. I mean, you'll tell a story or an event and leave it that. You'll show the candlelight vigil. But you're not going on there and getting into the pits and the gutters like Billy Joe has been doing. Like Billy Joe has been going on Queen Bee. Billy Joe has been going on Cher's channel. Billy Joe has been talking and everything while you have been in the back being silent. And what would you like to say? Like that? As long as you or myself go on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, we will continue to have problems. But she's been the only one driving that bus.
Yes. When I get on TikTok, and I do TikTok because I cook and one day I want to open my own restaurant. I always have, but I've been doing TikTok for a while, and I put my cooking videos on, and people ask me about Quinton, and I will answer a little bit, and then I'll say, well, I didn't get on here to talk about this, I'll change the subject, but people want to know. And I said after Quinton was found that I would talk because I've been sitting back letting her say just whatever she wants and a lot of lies.
Yeah. I'm so emotional. I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm disgusted. I'm sad. I'm every emotion in one. I can't even give how I feel a name. No one wants the truth in the media. They only want the drama. When the YouTubers were at our house, they tried to get you to say things. I never approached you, did I? I never asked you
No.
for an interview. I just
And that's what I said. I said, Dolly, uh, uh, Betty and Molly, they never asked me. Molly come over here and she prayed with me, and she grabbed my hands and she started praying. And I thought that was so awesome because that's what we needed to do was pray.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all never ever have you asked me to do anything.
No, no, and it was because we knew you were going through a lot. We wanted to support you, and we never came there. I mean, to be honest with you, the only person that was talking to YouTubers was Billy Joe and her family.
Yes, absolutely.
So she keeps going on, a media life, it's all fake, even the news. I have to agree, your news is I don't like your news. And it says, and honestly, the only reason I listen is because I want to hear people talk about Quinton. I want to hear his name. Well, she could just say his name because the whole time we were out there, it was like pulling teeth to even have her say Quinton's name. And for Leilani to say his name, and she got a sourpuss look on her face every time. Like her mother had, when they stole the signs and they were sitting in the front of the yard, her mother had to look over there and said, and tell her, say justice for Quinton. Like Leilani wouldn't even do that.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So she's completely broken. I believe that she's completely broken, but I hate the fact that she keeps constantly referring like we were so blindsided by this. No, you were in complete, not you, but she was in complete denial as to what was going on. And because she was in complete denial, this is the situation we are left with.
Yes.
Well, it just felt like you wasn't saying, hey, their Nana loves them. So she was wanting you to advocate for her. So she looked like the stellar grandmother, even though she was never around.
And that's what one of her friends told me. She's mad at you because you have not been over there supporting her and advocating for her. Well, this was not about her. It was about her grandchild.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem. That's what YouTubers, that's why we don't like people like that, because when you take and start talking about yourself, like you're missing a 20-month-old child. We don't care how uncomfortable you are. Are you kidding me? I don't care if she's uncomfortable.
Right.
Are you know where the 20-month-old is, and then we'll let you be comfortable. When you don't know where a 20-month-old child that you're responsible for, you don't know where their location is. I don't care if we're driving you up a wall or you're comfortable in your house, or if somebody's coming to your defense or not coming to your defense. Get your butt up and go look for your grandkid.
Absolutely.
That is just insane. So I'm not in trouble. I'm not going to jail. Okay, so that's where she's saying she's not going to be going to jail, and it is sad to me because I really truly believe that if she had not lied to the courts and she told the courts, look, I can't take care of these kids. I'm not home to take care of these kids. I travel, out of state. I'm gone for weeks on end. They would have taken those kids and put them in foster care or whatever other remedy to make sure those kids were okay. But because Billy Joe went to court and took responsibility for those kids, the courts gave that to her. And because of that, this child is dead.
Absolutely. I agree.
There was the altercation. And again, if I'm going to ask, but if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. Okay. Are you going to press charges?
I am. I am. I have found out that it's only a misdemeanor, and I wasn't going to press charges. I had told my mom before the incident the other day with YouTube and her being on it. I said, you know what? I'm going to let it go. I said, because right now she is getting beat up. Like she's going to beat herself up because of her daughter and what she did to her grandchild. So I'm going to let it go. But then when I seen what she was saying about making me move out the neighborhood and I was the problem, I was like, you know what? I tried to pray for her. I tried to let things go. She's just not going to stop. So I'm going to do what I have to do.
Right. And there have been threats. She's telling you she's not threatening you, but when you go on to multiple other stations and YouTube channels, you're hearing her threatening you.
Absolutely.
So it's not that she's not threatening you. It's just that she's not texting you the threats that she's levying across upon you. She's just saying it on other channels. But either way, a threat is a threat.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So what have you guys contemplated on doing? Are you planning on staying and trying to, because I have a funny feeling with their lack of jobs and, not going to work. She hasn't been to work for quite some time. She's obviously the breadwinner there, or at least makes some pretty decent money to have all that stuff. Do you think that they will be moving on or moving out of that community, or are you going to try to move out of that community? Are you going to try to live in peace? Like what?
I'm going to try to live in peace and stay here. My job is right down the road. My church is here. I've been there 10 years. I have a lot of friends out here. So no, I don't want to move.
Okay.
I just want her to leave me alone. We don't mess with them.
Yeah.
I've got to where I don't even like going that way. I'll go around Chatham Parkway. So I don't have to.
Because now that I realized that you can go through there, I was going around Chatham the whole time I was there. And I'm like, what's going through? Because all those cars, and that's another thing about these kids being in that ditch. Those cars go by us fast.
Absolutely.
And a child can jump out in a car just like that and just be.
Yep.
It's just, it's crazy.
Yes.
When I went down that way, I love that way. You couldn't, I wouldn't come any other way but that way after I realized where it went and went to 17 and like literally you can get to everywhere from 17.
Yes, you can.
So is there anything else that you want to say? I just want to tell you thank you so much for letting us kind of dig into your side. I know this is uncomfortable. This is very personal for you. And but you've been getting a lot of heat and you've just been sitting by and taking it. So this is your opportunity. Is there any final words that you want to say to Billy Joe, to people that are harassing you, to other people, other channels? Is there anything that you would just like to say? And then we'll before we close with you, I'd like you to pray.
Okay.
please.
I would just like to say to Billy Joe, this is about your grandchild. Just leave us alone. Just like if you're going to stay there, stay there. We don't bother you. I still pray for you, and I will continue to pray for you. And I just want people to know that we didn't lie. We didn't. Some certain things come from my daughter, and we didn't add to it. But my daughter had said things that she's seen, and I didn't want to put her name out there for her safety. So never was there any lies. Never was there nothing added that I added to it. Things were added, but it was from my daughter.
Yeah, and I actually spoke with your daughter. We never, even some of the information we've never brought your daughter in or up in any respect. Your daughter is sweet. You know, she lost Quinton too, and she's young. You know, she doesn't. She's just now having to deal with probably one of the most painful parts in her life. You know, I'm sure there's going to be many more painful things. You know, as we grow up and we have life. You know, but this is very painful for a young teenager. You know, young lady to have to experience, especially with somebody so sweet and tiny, in the heinous nature of the whole situation.
Well, did you see what they said when we had the vigil about my daughter?
No.
That she was crying when they were playing a song of Quinton, and they said that she was too attached to him, that something didn't look right about my daughter loving Quinton like that. And I just thought, how in the world could you say that about a 16-year-old that loves a baby? Why would you
That
make
is just, you know what, the problem is they don't understand what love is, what unconditional love is. I think that's the problem. And for me stepping foot in that community, I already knew this is a classic case. And I said it from almost the 12th on. This is a classic case of an abused child becoming the abuser, because Leilani was abused by her mother, and she's now perpetrated that abuse on her own children. And I truly believe it. I travel this country, and this is the first experience that I've had where a woman has not just raised one murderer, but has raised two. If that doesn't tell you who Billy Joe is, I really don't know what will.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, I just want to say God bless you. I know I'm not one that I love prayer, so I'm going to have you lead the prayer if you don't mind. I just want to tell you before we do, thank you so much. God bless you. And if you choose, I'm just going to throw this out there. If you choose that things are getting too toxic, too hostile there, let me know. And I will get a few of the creators, and we will do a fundraiser to help get you guys some money to move out if you choose. I know that's your home. 4 years is a long time. Trust me. The reason why I stay in this piece of crap is because I hate moving. I have entirely too much crap to move. I'm far too busy, far too lazy to want to move a house. I will probably die in this house. I could literally have $1 in my account or $1 million in my account, and I'll probably still be living right here. But if you do change your mind, let us help you.